thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're in Chicago now, correct?
I am in Chicago, yeah.
Okay. Are you originally from there?
No, I've been here about 10 years, which, you start saying a number like 10 or 5, and you have to check how long ago you've actually counted. So I think it's approximately 10, yeah. And you're in California, right?
Yeah, we're in San Diego, just south of LA. But yeah, so you're not originally from Chicago. Where'd you grow up?
North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Yeah, right on the East Coast, like very Outer Banks area. So are you familiar with North Carolina at all?
I've been to South Carolina, to like Myrtle Beach and stuff. I don't really know the area too well. Very
coastal where I was. So a lot of fishing and surfing and beach. It's California in a way, North Carolina, because you've got the Asheville, the mountains, and then you've got the coastal section too. So I was right on the Outer Banks coastal area, so lots of fishing.
Very cool. Very cool. How did you get into music?
Music was I don't play music. No, I'm just kidding.
What are these videos I'm seeing on the internet then?
Music, what's that? I started get my start in the triangle when I was about maybe 6 or so. There was this local Zydeco band, and I was really known for my hula hooping. I hula hoop for a good chunk of time, and so I started playing the triangle with it, and it was a really funky band that just loved weird, and I started bringing the triangle on stage with my hula hoop and joining them in like parades behind the float and whatnot. So yeah.
So you'd hula hoop and hit the triangle at the same time?
Yeah, I haven't tried it. I really should see if it's still in my skill set, while I'm bragging about it.
Yeah, it might be like riding a bike. You just hop back on it and you'll be good. Yeah. So you're hula hooping and playing triangle. That was your first band performance?
It was my first opportunity, I would say, of being part of a band and getting a band experience. So they would play like the seafood festivals and they'd call me up on stage, and there was always like a pseudo Mardi Gras, and it was a little hippie oasis in this very small southern town that I just found a lot of joy in, and I think a lot of people did in that, small neighborhood, and it was just fun, like the Cajun music and the fiddle and getting that triangle, honing in on that. Then I moved to flute, so that was the pivot.
Oh, that was the jump. When did you move to flute?
It was that middle school pressured choose your instrument moment.
Ah, yes.
And I always had instruments laying around the house, so there was a guitar, and I was always playing with it, and just kind of, he wasn't very, he didn't really have any training himself, so it was a very beautiful, like, feel it out kind of instruction from him. But it wasn't until like college age that I got any sort of traditional training on the guitar.
Wow.
But I definitely modified a lot. And then I broke my wrist skateboarding. So like my whole art style became very just whatever I was going to do. But it was often just taking shortcuts that made these weird chords. But it worked sometimes for songwriting.
Yeah. Okay. So you would just move your hand in different chords that you kind of create yourself?
Traditional chords, yeah. And I didn't know what I was doing for a long time. And so it was backwards learning when I started gaining like these people who were classically trained in guitar and starting to really learn where I was in the guitar. But then that, like, it really opened my world. There's something, I don't know, have you ever learned, do you play?
I can play guitar, yeah. I'm not very good, but I know how to do it.
Did you take lessons?
I didn't. No, I just learned from a neighbor, and then but I did realize the same thing, like where I was doing, I used to hold the pick with my middle finger and my thumb until like somebody that was like classically trained was watching me. They're like, why do you do that? I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, you're supposed to hold it with your your pointer finger. And then I switched, and it was weird at first, but it took me a minute. But it's funny how like those little things can make so much of a difference.
Yeah. And I find like learning, that's so true. I find learning instruments or relearning instruments is what I feel like I did later on, after having played, on stage, and I had like been playing guitar for a while. I wasn't doing it in all these other traditional, classical ways. Learning that, and then also putting it on piano, like learning piano as an adult has been a very meditative thing, because
Mm-hmm.
you, like, even playing guitar and singing, I'm only doing two things, and piano is just so much. And
Oh my gosh, it's so hard.
it's very, I've got some ADHD going on, so it's really good for me to get in there and just zone out and play.
That's cool. Yeah, I have a 12-year-old son that's trying to learn now, and it's hard to get him to stay on the piano. And I'm like, I had my dad could play and my sister, but I never learned. I wanted to play guitar, which is a stupid idea because I could have probably learned both easier. But I never learned. But the whole like right hand, left, like the left hand's doing the bass and the right hand's kind of doing the, I don't know. It's my brain doesn't really want to learn it.
Well, even flute was one. I mean, a triangle, I mean, I know that if you can play triangle, you can play everything, but that was figuring out piano to help me learn how to see the guitar and other instruments. And I'm a big fan of like getting the whole picture, like even in the music industry, like seeing where everybody is and how it works has always been like important to me in a way. So same thing musically. I've loved how the piano just kind of brings you into the full picture of music.
Sure. Yeah. It's amazing how you can play like every part of a song just on the piano. It's pretty incredible. So you play piano, you play guitar, you started learning guitar, or flute actually in middle school. And then when did you move up to guitar?
So guitar, it was always kind of around. I remember songwriting was always kind of in my, it was somewhere I went kind of naturally as a kid. We had a lot of animals around. So my parents were always trying to have a good time, for better or for worse. And there was a lot of land to go play on, though, and things were too crazy. And the animals that were there like ranged from goats to quail, and
wow.
It was. I remember,
you had like a farm.
It wasn't like I don't want to give my dad that kind of credit, because we were like animals from islands, and like we were taking care of them. But like at one point, my mom, who has passed, she really had a good time in her life, but it got to the point where Judge Judy was calling because our goats had gotten loose and they caused some issues in the neighborhood. And so Judge Judy wanted to like talk to her, and
you put it on the show because it's kind of a weird story.
Like, I don't want to tell the animals that we had that they were like on a proper farm. So some version of a farm, but I tried to do my part as a young musician, and I would like write songs for these baby goats. And that was sort of my guitar playing as a young kid on this.
Oh, how funny. So they were your first crowd. You just go out there and play to the goats?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool. So you're writing songs for these goats and animals and stuff. When did you start playing out to humans?
To the humans. It was like really to break into the human industry was a pivot for sure. We were already listening so attentively. So the human pivot happened around, I was 17 or so, and I was in foster care, and I was jumping around, living in different homes, and I was on my way to some sort of college. I didn't know what for. I was kind of okay at soccer, but I don't really think I was that good at soccer. Like, they must have caught me on a good day when they scouted me, and it was like an accident that I scored. So, let's be real.
So they gave you a scholarship, a soccer scholarship?
But I also was like just trying to get out of this town. And now I've like rekindled some love for this town and the beauty in this small town, and what it means to be like gay in the South. That's another thing. I'm reading a book on that. But there was this moment where I was like, am I going to do this? It was a South Carolina school for soccer. And at the same time, I was just writing a lot, which I think now is just trying to process things emotionally and bring, music into my healing. And I had been playing just alone, like around this small town, these docks and stuff. And I saw this restaurant during this fishing tournament, and I just was feeling bold one day, and I went in there and I said, can I play outside your restaurant? And they were like, we'll give you $100. And it became this thing where I didn't really have any repertoire. Like, I had some halfway written originals and my goat songs, but these fishermen would just kind of walk by. It was really busy, and people tipped a lot, and it was my first gig, and I had it every Saturday that summer before college. And I did not go to that school for college, I fell in love, ran away to Michigan, and started, bringing that bold energy to all these other cafes and gigging in that way and finishing my songs. And yeah, so that's the human pivot. That's when that happened.
Wow. Okay. So you had the scholarship. You decided, yeah, that's not for me. I'm going to keep playing music. You moved to Michigan, you said?
Yeah, I moved to Michigan. So I
Okay.
think the college thing was, I had always wanted to get out and go to college, and I was a pretty good student considering just what my home life looked like. But it wasn't the time. Like, I just didn't feel good. I just wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And like
Sure.
everybody feels, when they're 17 anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So this music thing though, also I just noticed that I could make money in it, which was really exciting. And
Yeah.
there was this one gig that was really strange. This fishing boat stopped by and they said, will you come on our boat? And it was not like I got out of that situation. So it was a little like, will you come on our boat for a long time kind of a thing.
It wasn't like a creepy thing?
It was creepy. They
Oh, it
handed
was creepy.
me $2,000 in cash and said, come back tomorrow. And it was like, I did not go back. It was clearly like not going to be a gig that I wanted to take. So
Sure.
Yeah. So
Whoa. They said, here's $2,000, come back tomorrow.
yeah, it was, I think,
And you're like,
I don't remember. It was so long ago, but it wasn't like I owed them another set or anything. It was like,
right.
This is what we're going to pay you, but you have to like come out on the boat with us. And it was strange. Something wasn't
Yeah.
right.
I wouldn't have done it either. Okay. So, yeah. So, and that was when you're still in North Carolina, or that was in Michigan?
That was North Carolina. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Then I went to Michigan, and I did enroll in some classes. I started culinary school, and
Oh, wow.
I did it for a little bit, but then I broke my wrist. So that's when I couldn't like chop, and I think I was just finally dealing with what growing up meant to me. And I ended up having this breakup, and I met this producer in Chicago. And so then I came here after that breakup, and I was in a pretty like sad spot. And I had just had my first like recording experience in a little tiny studio, and I just never left. I met some people here through my parents' like old punk rock friends. And then
wow.
slowly found this community, got this cafe job, and it was scary though. Like, I was from a really small town, and I'd never seen a 4-way stop sign, I say, and like it was a lot. And I took a map and had a couple people who were holding my hand through it, and but I wanted to stay, so I'm glad I did.
So you met the producer in Michigan that took you to Chicago? I'm confused where that.
Yeah, so there's one recording experience that happened in Michigan, and it was cool. And my partner at the time had taken me there, but my godmom had always told me about this producer in Chicago, Ethan Stoller, and he worked on The Matrix and V for Vendetta, and he's a film guy. So I'd heard about him, and my godmom said, come out here, you got to meet this guy at some point. But I didn't realize it would be when I was like at this low, kind of like my second runaway of my 17 to 20-year-old years. And I went to his house, and she took me there when I came for like a weekend, and ended up just staying. And when I went to his house, I remember thinking like what it means to start your career as a musician, like not just playing on boats and stuff, means he was going to ask me, why do you want to make music? And I needed to have staff paper out with like all the parts for the whole pop song that I was writing. And it was going to be some very, very big moment like that. And he was just like, hey, what's up? Like, here's Logic Pro. And, very casual. And we became great friends and worked together. We still work together now. So. Wow.
So that was your first experience, like really recording and writing and recording, was with him?
Yeah, super cathartic. I just had all these like love/heartbreak songs and had never done it before. I learned so much from him.
And what was that recording ever released?
It was, yeah. So that's my 2010 release called Echo.
Echo, okay. I don't see that one on Spotify. Oh, no, I do. Did you re-release it in 2019?
It had fallen off the Spotify, like sometimes if you don't renew it, like a lazy musician.
It goes away.
Musicians aren't lazy, but I was being, I think I was probably distracted or something, and just had a different email or something. Anyway, I put it back out there, especially because one of the songs recently was on this really cool show called Work in Progress.
Oh, wow.
filmed here in Chicago. It's a Showtime series. And so the song Careful off of Echo was on there recently.
Wow. How did that happen?
It's the same group of people kind of. So after Ethan and I worked together on that record, we did an EP called Breakfast at some point. And then I worked with another guy in Archive of Illusion. Somewhere in 2012 area, I ended up getting offered a assistant position at a post-production facility in Chicago, where Ethan was a music editor and this big crew who worked on Sense8, the series, and a bunch of films.
Wow.
And I became part of that team. And then slowly through the years, I became part of the music team too. So that's how I worked on like Sense8 with music, and some ended up being part of like the Netflix Sense8 kind of source music creation.
Oh, cool.
And then that same studio, one of the Wachowski sisters, did Work in Progress with Tim Mason and Abby McEnany, and they all did Work in Progress. So it's just that same crew, and they were looking for some music, and they thought that was a good fit.
Rad. That's awesome. You've put out quite a few records over the years. And do you have a label? Are you signed to a record label?
I call it after my brand of hot sauce, Zoe-chan.
You have your own hot sauce?
I do have my own hot sauce.
Okay, I want to hear that story next. Okay, so you've been putting stuff out independently on your own label, so to speak?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. I mean, you've done a lot for just independently. Have you been I'm sure labels have reached out to you?
We had this big rock record that I still haven't put out. It was, I'm still really proud of the project. It's really loud. It's really hard to put on the show correctly. We played at a great Chicago music venue, Metro, with it.
Oh yeah, I know the Metro.
You've been there?
I've never been there, but it's like I know the name. It's like a huge thing.
Yeah. It's a beautiful spot. I love that venue. And we played with Q101, a radio station here, had us open up for another Chicago-based band, Wild Bell. And it was a great show, but we ran out of inputs, which was fine. We made do, but the epicness of that record, we were shopping it to some labels. And I think I got a little burnout on that process of just trying to get someone else to like it. And yeah, I think I just have taken a pause on that album. And then I made something a little softer, a little more in these times, as I'm cornered to kind of go back to my roots and play off of my motorcycle.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about that. I think that's such a cool concept. Wait, so you put this you wrote and recorded this rock record that hasn't came out?
There's a single out called Dollhouse. And there are, I think, 11 other songs. I just haven't released it yet because I don't know. It just didn't feel like I knew how to release that record and play it live in a way that it was good. My voice is pretty, but it's also, and I do voice lessons, but it doesn't always project over quite the production the record was. And I wanted to do it justice. So it's just figuring out how to kind of put that out and it feel good.
Cool. And I love what you're doing with the sessions you're doing on your motorcycle or on your little Vespa. You're like just cruising around this. So you just go around Chicago and just pull over and play for people? Tell me about this story. Yeah.
It's called Curbside Live with Xoe Wise. And it's been good for me to get out of my own head. And ideally, out of context, I don't know if this would be fun. Like, I'm street performing. So, but I was doing some reach outs to music venues and sing about patio shows and just trying to stay connected. This summer I was going to put out a record and it was going to be very live music summer. And that shifted. So I was like, well, how do we do that somehow anyway? But I didn't want people to feel unsafe either. So I got this PPE to put over my microphone. And so it's like a shield. So when I'm singing, because singing, you're breathing so much,
Right. Pushing it out.
So I was trying it out slowly, like, is this something that people are into in any way? And I started just parking, and I thought it was a bigger setup at first. I brought a mic stand and stuff. Since then, I've clipped on a mic to my rear view mirror, and then I put the small battery-powered amp on the in the front of the seat of my scooter, and then I have a guitar stand on the back of the scooter, And yeah, I'll play a whole set there. I've got a contactless tipping sign so people can just kind of come by and then Venmo, and 50% of the proceeds go to a raffled business or Chicago music venue that is not able to fully operate right now during COVID. So
That's awesome. That's such a cool concept.
thanks.
And then
Yeah.
where do you show up? Just wherever you feel like it? Do you
So
like post and say, hey, I'll be at, 3rd and Broadway today?
exactly. Although I haven't done any New York shows.
I don't know the streets of Chicago.
I don't know if that's even that sounds like New York Street. But yeah, I'll do that. I mean, at first that was kind of a positive of it too, is that I wasn't attracting these huge crowds during this time where we don't want them. So pop up, they were very distant shows by nature of that, having no notice. And yeah, a couple of them this week, I've given a little notice to some people that are coming out to chat. So that's been it's been hard to coordinate when I really do want certain people there. Or people want to come listen. Sometimes I don't know because they're closing down certain streets for restaurants and whatnot. So I'm trying to scout and just pop up. And then I do a little Insta notification and Facebook. And then I'll go Facebook Live and I'll do the raffle on Facebook Live and say,
oh, cool.
Hey, here's where I am. We're going to pull the name. This is who we're raising money for. And then for the next 4 or 5 shows, until we get to at least a couple $100 or something, I need money for that venue.
Wow, that's amazing. And I saw that, the Chicago Tribune did a whole article on it, and that's really cool. So it's definitely getting some attention.
Yeah, I think the venue part of it too just helps. I mean, I'm not changing these venues' lives or anything, but just keeping the conversation going that, our community on this grassroots level has to work together and be nice to each other and keep going is important to me. So it wouldn't really, feel the same again out of context and without that relationship. Because like Shubas and Space and Metro, like they've been such a huge part of my Chicago songwriting career. It's hard to not think of them in this time too.
Sure. Have you done any touring outside of Chicago?
Yeah, I did a really long tour in 2011 or 12, which was a solo one. I have done some Midwest touring. I love going to Cincinnati Motor Pub.
Okay.
That place is really amazing. It's one of those cities where they have a Midpoint Music Festival, and they do just such a great job of mixing like new acts with like Ride and Sylvanesso, and I think Iron and Wine have played that fest. But then Dan, who owns Motor Pub, he brings in local bands and up and coming music that he just loves, and it's just such a fun mixture where you feel like, oh, okay, this is about the music, and it doesn't feel overly commercial, and everybody's eating good food that the venues like out of their heart giving to these bands. And so I love that. And so Midwest touring, I try to stay consistent with. Right, I'm going to do some pop-ups in Saugatuck this weekend, actually. I tried to find a scooter. It's a little difficult, actually, because of COVID. So it might just be a traditional patio set. And then I've been out to California a little bit. I've done Room 5 and Hotel Cafe.
I know, in LA?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Hotel Cafe.
Yeah, that was a fun one. One time I went to Zoe's in Ventura, which was, you know where Ventura is?
I know where Ventura is. I don't know the venue. But Ventura's just a little bit north of LA.
Yeah, I didn't know where it was either. I was, I think, 20. I just came to Chicago. I thought you needed to go to California. And so I like saved up all my barista money and like bought a flight to California, booked a shuttle to this place that I had heard that the singer-songwriter Jason Reeves had played at.
Okay.
Like, that was it. And it was named Zoe's Cafe. So I'm like, well, obviously I have to go there. Here's my guitar. The guy who I'm opening for has a guitar player with him who was Deanna Carter, Strawberry Wine.
Oh, yeah.
That was him. And he let me use his guitar for the set. And there were these, older guys who were just like mentoring me through this weird LA, idea of what it meant to, go for it. And you just have all these, again, like, no one's going to ask you, why do you want to make music your first time in a studio?
Yeah. So you have a new record coming out in September. Tell me about.
July 31st.
Oh, July.
Mhm.
What did I see September for? Maybe I'm thinking of something else. So you have a new record coming out in July. Tell me all about it.
Well, you're right, though. It will also be out in September.
Oh, it will still be out in September.
That's
Okay.
not
That's good. That's good to know. Well,
good.
tell me about the new record. Is it called Air, or that's the first single?
Yeah, it's called Air, and it's the first single. It is 11 songs long, and a lot of love songs about what it means to be a good parallel parker. Um, well, you
Is that
realize,
important?
well, in Chicago, there are people who really push it. They really do the
Okay.
attack. And so I realized one day my partner's very nice. Like, what a good human being. She will not do it. And it inspired a little bit of a song. And so that's.
She will not tap the car to make sure she gets in the spot. That's cool. Okay, so it's is this record different than your other ones that you had released at all, or tell me about the process of the album?
Yeah, I think I chipped away at this one. I was back in school, not the soccer scholarship place, but I went back to school later, and I missed music during it, and I was older than all the other students by like 8 years, and it was kind of awkward, and so I just needed something that felt like me, and so on the weekends I would chip away at this, but by nature of the time constraints and kind of just where I was, I think emotionally, it was very acoustic centric. So I had all these acoustic songs that I was finishing or it was just coming out. And I worked with my friend Minterm on the production of it. And we started just programming drums. I had been through these big album productions where I had much more programming experience and I was more aware of synthesizers and the idea of electronic rock. And so bringing in those, but more intentionally. And then building it up but letting it breathe too was a goal. And I think just kind of going back to my roots with the folk storytelling but allowing myself to experiment with some soundscape stuff a little more was part of the sound of the record.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I love
very
it. Sorry, go ahead. I didn't hear you, like, muted out.
Oh, very acoustic guitar centric though, and wanting to play these shows solo, which worked out because now I've got no choice. But
Yeah. So this is more of like just you focused record as far as like if it's the acoustic sounds and just being able to perform it as just you. Is that kind of how you wrote it?
definitely from a performance level. I mean, that said, I didn't do it alone. Like I had this horn player in Berlin, Martin Wenk from Calexico. Like he's a killer musician. He plays the Nada Cirque, and I've always wanted to.
Oh wow.
Stuff. And he did a great job on so many of these songs. And then this guy I worked with through Sense8, Gabriel actually mixed the record and did some additional programming. And then other singer-songwriters, Pat McKillen, Heather Steika, we like did a bunch of overdubs. This guy Alan on guitar. But it was all remote because it became like COVID times during it. And we were just kind of, I'm chopping up people's parts sometimes too and like we'll do weird things.
Yeah. So you're putting the record out, like you were still putting all the pieces together when COVID started.
Yeah, we were in it. It was a very lucky place to be because our guy Max who did the drums like the week before everything shut down. So that we couldn't have done. That was the one studio thing we were gonna like record because everything else was pretty overdubbed. And so we were at a point where I engineered my own vocals at home and I would send them and it was just a lot of computer stuff and it was in the beginning. So like there was some energy to do that. Like, I don't know right now. I have this electronic EP that I've personally it's just a solo EP I've been working on, but I've taken a break from it because I just needed to get outside and like, just,
Yeah. Get out of the house. Get away from it all. Yeah, totally. Wow. So like, I know obviously you've been doing the scooter sessions that you've been doing, but other than that, like, did you get kind of, were you doing like the Instagram live things? And I mean, I know you're still doing it like remotely, but like, were you going on your personal channel and just doing that like when this all kind of first started? Did you get kind of burnt out on that or?
Well, in the beginning, I was still in school a little bit, finishing up my school stuff, learning German and piano. But obnoxious for my girlfriend in the same apartment. I'm like, "E Kaiser!" and then like playing. So I took a moment, and then I got my my technology in place for some live streams. And I did these things called Thank You Thursdays. So I'm entering grad school for social work this coming fall.
Very cool.
Yeah, so I mean, it's right now really big time in need. And so I wanted to go ahead and start blending. I'm really interested in making programs that can blend music and social work. So I started doing these things called Thank You Thursdays, where I partnered with 4 different nonprofits, 5 actually, and I would learn about the nonprofit and kind of dedicate the show to them and weave in some songs that thematically made sense with their mission, talk about their COVID response, the response to the violence on Black lives, and essentially to just learn and be able to share out information is a way of learning it. And it just felt more fulfilling than like a live stream. I think that there are some amazing live streams happening right now, but as a way to focus myself to like 5 songs and a talking point or whatever, that was enjoyable. It was also a lot of work.
Yeah. I like the thing that you're doing now, the scooter and like going live from different parts of Chicago. I think that's so cool. Like I haven't heard anyone doing that yet. It's all just, all right, I'm going to go on the Zoom call or I'm going to do the Instagram live and play a song. But I think even that, like, it looks like people are just getting burned out on that. Like how many,
yeah.
I mean,
it's hard. I think the Zoom too is really hard for music and like the sync stuff. Like I've been doing these cool songwriting workshops, but they're not the same. Like I'll facilitate them, but there's a lag with music on Zoom.
Like the latency on Zoom.
Yeah.
There's this band called Pup. I'm not sure if you've heard of them, but they did like Pup. They're like a punk band, but they did like this session where they all went on and they played a song on Zoom, like, and to be like, this is what it sounds like if we all play like live, and it's just like this nightmare of like sounds. Just because, they're kind of showing everybody, like, look, this is why a lot of people aren't doing the, like, full band things.
Oh, yeah. And people, like, catching people, it's just a lot of effort to catch people up on like, well, Zoom isn't the best for this, and then this,
Yeah, you're end up explaining yourself too
it's
much.
Not magical, the lag. It takes it away.
Sure. I want to hear about your hot sauce. So your hot sauce, tell me about your hot sauce.
Well, I'm a big fan of like the growing of peppers and gardening with the North Carolina stuff. I was always out there like, catching clams and scallops as a kid. But when it came to merch, I think it was before the Breakfast EP, but it just seemed like something that people might want at the show, at the merch table. So I put my face on a label and ordered some bottles and just started selling Xoe Chan hot sauce. It ranges from spicy to really spicy, and sometimes I'll do, if there's I did a Valentine's Day show edition one time that was pomegranate hot sauce. A pretty tasty one. And I haven't been selling off the scooter lately just because of COVID, but I think we'll get a new batch going soon.
Right. So you just make different ones and bring them to your shows?
Yeah, exactly.
That's so cool. Well, I'm in San Diego, and Mexican food and hot sauce is pretty much our life here. So that's cool. I'm sorry?
You have a favorite hot sauce?
I don't know. Not really. The taco shops ones are always good. Well, thank you so much for doing this with me. This has been great. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, me too.
I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Advice. Ooh. Lean into your weird. You think you should sell your hot sauce and get on a scooter, do it. And be nice. Like, I think we really can help each other out right now. And be nice to your sound guys. Be nice to yourself. Just, like, go in there with some, like, nice energy in whatever phase you are in your career. Bringing it backward.